Everyone. Welcome to Two Guys, One Swamp, the podcast. We're your hosts, Austin and Trey. We're excited to be with you today. Glad you're joining us. Before we get down into it, Trey, let's give the nice listeners a quick backdrop on who we are and what the show is going to be like. Um, I'm a former player and a former high school coach. Trey is also a former coach, right, Trey?
Yeah, middle school coach, if we're counting that.
Oh, it counts, buddy. Don't worry. And this podcast will be more of a roundtable discussion on Gator sports, unscripted, obviously. And we hope to hear from you guys too in the future. We'll have some mailbag segments. So, having said that, let's dive into our first segment, which is our FSU recap. And going to go ahead and fire some rapid stats at you, Trey. All right, you ready for them?
I'm ready.
They're coming in hot. All right, so total offense, Florida, 440 yards. FSU had 407 yards. Jaden Baugh, 266 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, Trey. Amazing performance. J. Michael Sturdivant, leading receiver, 3 catches, 58 yards. DJ Lagway, 3 touchdown passes, went 15 and 24 for 168 yards. Miles Graham, 6 tackles and a sack. Overall, we got the dub 40-21. Trey Smack misses his last kick as a Gator, which was odd, but I think a lot went right in the game. Obviously, I think the line was we were favored by about 2.5, and we ended up winning by 19. So I think everyone can be happy with that performance. Jaden Baugh had an Avengers-like performance. After a couple pedestrian weeks here and there, he really kind of exploded. Show he's a guy, he's a dude. What do you think about? What are your thoughts about the game after a great performance like that, the end of the year?
I think it was a great way to end the year, especially considering how just abysmal this season has been as a whole. It was good to see the O line look like they, knew how to block, which was in question a bit the last few weeks. But yeah, Jaden Baugh has by far his best performance as a Gator. I think I saw that was the most rushing yards that a Gator has had against FSU, and um, and of course big story. Jaden Baugh was the first Gator running back to reach 1,000 yards since 2015, and I believe he is the youngest or to do it, or at least reached it in the fewest number of carries. So yeah, big day for Baugh.
Under 200 carries. Yep.
Yeah, under 200 carries. He really solidified himself in that game as one of the elite backs of college football, and it was good to see the offensive staff finally realize that because I mean he they started giving him the ball more, like 4 or 5 games into the season, but oh man, it was so painful against USF and LSU watching him get like 12 touches in each of those games. It was so infuriating. So it was good to see him finally, getting his due and it really paying off.
I believe it was a Billy philosophy to rotate the backs every series, and I don't think Billy Gonzalez believed in that because we saw him give Jaden Ball the rock over and over and over again if he could handle it. And he could. He could
Yeah.
more than handle it. He was a one-man show, put the team on his back. Other people made plays, but it was a Jaden Ball show on Saturday. And I believe the term Ball game was coined. I love that term. Ball called Ball game. I think people will use that in the future, hopefully at Florida, hopefully not another
Oh,
school.
hopefully at Florida. That was kind of annoying though, that seemed like that was all the announcers could talk about was like how hot of a commodity he was going to be this off season.
They're not wrong, but also while the guy's still wearing a Florida uniform, yeah, it got a little irritating. Hopefully he's going to stick around. We'll get into the new guy here in a little bit, but I also wanted to get your thoughts, what you think about Mike Norvell and his future. This is now actually the second time in 4 years he's lost to an interim coach at the University of Florida, which is not a good stat to be a part of.
That's right. Dude, wow, I didn't realize that. But yeah, he lost to oh gosh darn, what was his
He
name?
lost to Greg Knox,
Greg
who was the interim
Knox. That's
coach
it.
when Dan
Oh,
Mullen got fired.
that's hilarious. Oh, that's so funny. Um, in reality, I do think holding on to Mike Norvell for now is actually the right move for FSU. And like I'm not even saying that as like ironically, like, yeah, extend him or whatever, because he sucks. But no, I think that really is the in their best interests for this season at least. Just because there's so many head coaching vacancies and so many of the really good coaching candidates that we thought would be available this cycle ended up being happy where they're at and not wanting to leave. And Clark Lee signed an extension with Vanderbilt. Um, gosh darn, Jeff Brom staying with Louisville. Eli Drinkwitz staying with Missouri, and those are just a few. Um, it's so many of the hot commodities are just happy where they're at. A lot of them are at their alma maters.
Right, the coaching pool was shallow, the talent in it, and I believe FSU just wanted to punt until next year. Um, they worked a lot on replacing assistants on the field for this season. They replaced a lot of people. They got a lot of new people through the portal, and now they're going to go off the field to the front office and try to fix that, see if that does anything. I personally think the goose is cooked at this point. Mike Norvell's booty juice. Um, he has a very, very steep hill to climb out of. And if you can't do it in the ACC, you're probably not that good of a coach.
Yeah, I think he's got next year to that's his last chance because I mean honestly I thought this year so it would have been shocking if they had gotten back up to like 9-10 wins. That would have been crazy. So honestly, I feel like 5 wins, considering the fact that they had 2 wins last season, is not that bad. Like obviously it's not good, but it is, a step in the right direction. And I do think that they hired good coordinators. I mean, Gus Malzahn, I think he's still a good coach, and he's a good offensive mind. And their defensive coordinator, I keep forgetting his name. I've forgotten his name.
Tony White.
Tony White. Yeah, they got him from Nebraska, and he was really good there. So I don't know. Things just don't seem to have clicked, but I do think that on the coordinator side, at least, they have a good staff. So I think it's the right decision for them to hold on one more year and uh, give the transfer portal another whirl and see what they can do next season. But yeah, if they're not back up to at least 8 wins, but I mean for them they probably want 9 or 10 wins. So if they're not up there next season and it's another like 500-ish season, then it's probably time to move on.
Yeah, one more stat before we move on. FSU started out 3-0 actually this year, and then they proceeded to win 2 of their next 9, Trey. So they really fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
It wasn't a tall cliff to begin with, but they managed to fall off of it.
Mhm.
Uh, in short, sucks to be you, FSU. See you next year. Good luck with that. Moving on to our next segment called "Put Our Thoughts Inside You." And the first thing I want to ask you, Trey, is the Lane Kiffin saga took a turn, a very abrupt turn, and we actually heard Friday morning that Florida would be going a different direction. Lane
Mhm.
Kiffin would not be the coach at University of Florida, and that we had pivoted to Jon Sumerall. And we see now that Lane Kiffin actually a few hours ago announced that he would be going to LSU. But was it at all shocking to you, like so many other Gator fans and boosters, that we just pivoted before getting probably, maybe, possibly a final answer from Lane Kiffin, as the rumor suggests?
Yeah, if those rumors are true, then that surprises me a lot. Um, I mean, I understand wanting someone who is like all in immediately, but at the same time, it's Lane Kiffin. I mean, come on, he's the guy who's been the candidate 1A from the start. So it's a little surprising to me that that if assuming the rumors are true, that the administration pivoted so hard and so fast when it seemed like we were so close to getting an answer.
Right. And these, of course, are alleged rumors, but it's come from some pretty high up people that we gave him a deadline. He failed to meet the deadline. He needed more time. And so maybe some egos got involved from our athletic director and our biggest booster, which is unfortunate. I actually have uh, I've seen our biggest booster post before on message boards. He likes to be active on there. And he said, now you can't take this back once you say it. And I've seen him personally say that he was not a Lane Kiffin fan.
Mm.
Um, didn't like him. Uh, he also was an Urban Meyer fan, but that's the story for another day. Um, basically, it's a guy that donates a lot of money to the school, but has more money than sense, I think. He was a guy that loved Billy Napier. Scott Strickland also loved Billy Napier. Those two gave Napier every chance in the world to get it right. He couldn't. And you had two guys leading the search, which Gary Condren wasn't on the search committee officially, but you had to think he had input.
Oh, certainly.
Um, he had input. And then you had two guys that, and Scott Strickland also allegedly was not a huge fan of uh, Kiffin. So you have two guys who kind of maybe tried, but not we're not all in on getting him, which is unfortunate because Lane Kiffin is a wild card. They had to have assumed that it wasn't going to be a super smooth process to get him. I think they maybe panicked a little bit and some prior feelings bubbled up, knowing his past and whatnot, being unpredictable, and they pivoted to a guy that seems a little bit more stable in the way he does things. And obviously, the guy jumped at the opportunity. Jon Sumerall, who is now officially the coach, and people everywhere are chiming in saying he's been a great option. But Gator fans have really kind of gone off the rocker with the negativity towards him, how he is not really exactly what we need right now. He's Napier 2.0. Do you think that Jon Sumerall was the right plan B?
I have always been a fan of I've been a fan of Jon Sumerall throughout, like even before we fired Billy. He is a name that I had circled of guys who I was interested in. Um, but I don't mind the coach we hired, but from what it sounds from the rumors that have come out, I'm not a fan of the way that the decision was made. So it in my opinion, it seems like it may have been a uh, um, you know, uh,
Rash, emotional,
like a
stupid.
wrong process, right solution. I'm missing the expression there, but you know what I'm saying. They got to the right answer, but in the wrong way. But but yeah, so I like Jon Sumerall. I think he's a really good coach. He's won immediately at both of the places he's been. Um, but uh, yeah, I mean, there's no coach is going to be a grand slam or is a sure thing rather. There are risks with Lane Kiffin too. I mean, he was as close to a sure thing as we had, but I mean, if those rumors are true, then about Strickland and that and those
Gary
boosters,
Condren.
Condren, yeah, then it's possible that they were just looking for an excuse to move on to someone else.
That's what I fear, and it seems plausible. Unfortunately, as I said, Condren openly said he was not a Kiffin fan. Um, and the guy Kiffin, he does what he wants to do, and we see that now. Even he sent out a tweet saying that he wished to coach the Ole Miss. He wished to coach Ole Miss to the playoffs. The AD won't let him there, so that was his last game. And I believe he's getting on a plane tomorrow with some family and his brother Chris Kiffin, and they're going to Baton Rouge, and that's that. It's like he almost, never was even there. He might take some players with him. He might take
Oh,
some
I'm sure he
staff,
will. Yeah.
but it ended badly. That actually was his longest tenure coaching job, head coaching job at
Mm.
6 years.
Yeah.
And once again, just how he left USC and how he left Tennessee, the fans that he left behind don't like him anymore.
Mhm.
Um, so maybe in a way, you could maybe call him a toxic person, and he's going to a toxic place, as we've seen. So maybe it was the right fit for both parties. That's just my personal opinion. Other people, I mean, everyone's going to forget about this when he wins uh, 11 games a year there. He's a great coach. There's no
Yeah.
denying that. But things happen how they're supposed to, and I do believe that we got a guy that a lot of people think highly of. I am a little concerned about some of his metrics. He's got a middle of the pack offense, a defense is actually back of the pack. That does concern me. But I think the biggest thing with him is he's going to have to nail the coordinator hires. He's got to nail them. Billy Napier, right off the bat, did not nail the coordinator hires. In fact, he appointed himself as one of the coordinators, which obviously was a huge detriment. So I believe that's the key to his tenure right away. He's got to get a good offensive coordinator and then obviously a good defensive coordinator. And there's tons of names to work with, but just pick one. Pick a good one. I don't care.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The coordinator hires are huge. That's really what was a big part of Billy Napier's slow start at Florida. Um, and I mean, and it's not just Napier. That's a lot of times when you see a coach getting off to a slow start, it's because they made poor coordinator hires. But I mean, he said he's already said that it's really at the University of Florida is really important to have, explosive offense. So it's good to hear that from the the future coach that that's something that he is prioritizing. And it was like when Billy Napier came in and he said that he was going to focus on talent acquisition, and he did do all things considered, considering the lack of success in the field, he did a very good job of talent acquisition. Uh, and so hopefully Summerall's statement about wanting Florida to have explosive offense is a sign of intention and of things to come. But yeah, especially with how much cheaper Summerall is relative to a Lane Kiffin, there is no excuse to not go get two big name coordinators um, that are just going to put Florida in a much better position.
Right. And Lane Kiffin was going to get a huge support package, both with NIL and assistant pool salary. I don't think Jon Sumerall will get as big or as generous of a package, but uh, I think it will be still generous somewhat. And we'll see what he can do with it. And by the way, Trey, get ready for this guy to use the portal big time,
Oh
which
yeah.
was unlike Billy, because his first year there, first offseason at Tulane, he brought in 23 transfers, and then last offseason he brought in 34. So he will be bringing guys here.
And that's really exciting to see because yeah, especially early on, Billy Napier did not was not aggressive enough in the transfer portal, and I was a fan of his overall philosophy of wanting to build through high school, but uh, but you really, especially when you're doing a rebuild, there needs to be a balance, and you need to. I mean, evidently, you need to lean a little bit more heavily on the portal than maybe some people thought initially. So it sounds like Summerall is the kind of guy who will do that, which is reassuring. And I think it's, kind of looking back at his time at Tulane, I think it's really encouraging that he was able to maintain his success in this year, his second year, and even surpass what he did last year when all last after last season, his roster got absolutely raided by the portal. I think one of the reasons why a lot of Florida fans aren't so happy about Summerall is because Billy Napier and Summerall played against each other in the Gasparilla Bowl last year, and we whooped them. But I think one thing that's important to remember is that in that game, their first string quarterback and their second string quarterback were both in the portal, so they were down to their third string quarterback, as well as their star running back, uh, who had like over 1,200 rushing yards or something. He was awesome. He was gone. Those were the big names, but I mean they had lost several other guys as well. So
Hmm.
yeah, he will use the portal, and he's shown the ability to be successful with portal evaluations and backfill when other guys leave. So I think we're there. I think there's definitely reason to have hope going into next year.
Yeah, I do remember Tulane had a lot of opt-outs that game, key opt-outs. Um, so it's hard to glean much from that. Uh, but Summerall also uh, likes his coaches. He likes to hire his coaches and let them coach. He's not a micromanager guy. If he hires a great offensive coordinator, he's going to let that guy do what he wants, which I am encouraged by. I hope he follows through on that. We have heard coaches say that in the past and not follow through. I do believe the key to success in today's game is adaptability, and with him using the portal like he does, and if he hires good coordinators, let them coordinate. He will have success, and he will win people over. That's how you win people over. It's just one here was with offense, but two, just show that you know what you're doing, and have the team improve. Don't have the same mistakes from game one to game 47 or whatever Napier's last game was.
Yeah.
But moving on, Trey, and let's talk a little bit about some other jobs really quick. So Auburn gets Alex Golish. Surprisingly, it seemed like he might be going to Arkansas. Uh, it seemed like he actually was going there for sure for a bit, but Auburn steals Golish from Arkansas. Arkansas seems like they're going to hire Ryan Silverfield from Memphis, which risky. I feel like quite a few Memphis coaches have not worked out recently. Mike Norvell, Justin Fuente, they named the last two. Um, Mike Norvell seems like he's on the edge of getting fired. Justin Fuente got fired from Virginia Tech. Then Ole Miss announced pretty quickly after Kiffin left that Pete Golding is the new coach there. He was a defensive coordinator. Do you think any of those schools came out as a winner so far?
I think Auburn is definitely a winner with getting Alex Golesh. I mean if Auburn if he has the right support and alignment from administration, then he could do a really good job there. I mean, he did well at USF with obviously much more limited resources. He pushed Alabama to the
Beat us in
wire
the swamp.
twice,
Hmm.
and beat us in the swamp. Yeah, uh, but um, I mean, Hugh Freeze in his first couple of years recruited really well. So you see when uh, when the right guy comes in there, he can have success recruiting and bringing in talent. It's just a matter of can he do it on the field? And so far, he's been able to. So I think that was a good hire. I think that was, in my opinion, the best hire out of those three schools. But to be fair, I don't know that much about Silverfield, so he could be
You
really
don't
good.
need to.
But like you said, he's a wild card that could really go either way. But I mean, I'm sure they got him on a cheaper deal, so it's relatively low risk for Arkansas. For Ole Miss, um, I'm a little bit surprised that they went the route of elevating Pete Golding, but you know, um, I'm interested to see how it turns out.
I am too, and he's gonna have a lot of backing there for
Mm.
from Ole Miss fans, and he's gonna have support, and I think he'll actually do well. But as far as Alex Golish, he had the second ranked offense this year. Great offensive mind. Honestly, seemed like maybe a Florida coach with his high flying offense, but um, we went a different route. And as we talked about, Summerall can hire a guy that can run a high octane offense. It's going to be weird to see almost an air raid at Auburn. And speaking of air raid, Eric Morris to Oklahoma State. Um, a little surprising. He was a good coaching candidate. Thought he might end up at a bigger school like Arkansas. And then Arkansas, I'm also surprised with a lot of money there. Um, Big time donors, but doesn't seem like it's really valued that much as a football job, which surprised me a little bit. But they had trouble pulling a coach, and they're going to end up with a guy that seems like their plan B. Um, but that's how it works in a carousel like this. You're not going to get your number one guy sometimes, and that's why FSU punted because they thought they might be stuck with a guy they weren't happy with, so they stuck with the devil they knew. But it's going to be interesting to see who came out the best. Obviously, a lot of people are saying Lane will be have them as an annual playoff contender at LSU. I tend to agree, but he's got history that suggests that he won't be at a place longer than 5 or 6 years. So it's going to be interesting by year 4 or 5 if he's having success, if like the NFL comes calling, or if he gets bored, Bama opens up. He's always wanted the Bama job. I don't know if
Mm.
Bama wants him, but I do think he would make a move there if Bama opened up. And then Summerall, I think, is widely regarded as a great hire. So it'll be interesting to see which school came out the best. I do think Virginia Tech did a great job landing James Franklin before anyone else really got in on him.
Hmm.
I wonder if Florida kind of regrets not having more serious discussions with him earlier because it seemed like he was holding out a bit. There was about a week there where him and Tech were in limbo. I thought maybe he's waiting for FSU to open up or for Kiffin in Florida to kind of dissipate their talks, but he ended up signing there, and I think Virginia Tech's going to be instantly a contender in the ACC.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's a really good landing spot for him. And yeah, Virginia Tech is one of the biggest winners of this coaching cycle. That is a massive upgrade. They're like you said, they're gonna, I think, immediately gonna be a consistent contender in the ACC. I do think that James Franklin he seems to have a bit of a ceiling, which is why I didn't want him at Florida. But but for a program like Virginia Tech, that I mean, doesn't necessarily have national championship expectations, I think that's a perfect spot for him.
Yeah, as we've said, we didn't want James Franklin at Florida, but also didn't want him at FSU.
Yeah.
So ended up working out. All right, moving on. We're gonna have our mailbag segment presented by ChatGPT since we don't have any write-ins yet. But I'm gonna throw a few questions at you, Trey, and we'll see how it goes. So here's the first one here. Is it a systemic issue at Florida, or is it a coaching issue why we have not been able to win? Systemic meaning it's a overall school issue, or is it a coaching issue the last 15-ish years?
Like with everything, it's a bit of both. But I would say it used to be more of a systemic issue. I think you could make that argument more with during Dan Mullen's tenure. Um, but for Billy Napier, at least, it was not a systemic issue. He was given any all the resources he could ask for. He was given every opportunity. I don't think he got a lot of no's when he asked for resources. Um, so with Billy Napier, it was most definitely a coaching issue. With Dan Mullen, I think it may have initially been a a system issue, but then it became a coaching issue later on. It kind of seemed like he had kind of checked out, um, you know. So I think as of right now, if they give Jon Sumerall the same level of commitment that they give Billy Napier, then I think he has a pretty good chance of success.
That's the worry, I think. Is he going to get the support that Billy got, that Lane Kiffin would have got? Um, I think that's a big issue, but time will tell. Hopefully, he gets the support he needs, as every coach deserves. As far as it being a systemic issue or a coaching issue, we've seen some really crap coaches here in the
Yeah.
last 15 years. Muschamp got fired from two different schools, SEC schools. McElwain never got another big head coaching job, as far as I know. I believe he ended up at Central Michigan for a while.
Yeah.
Um, Dan Mullen, probably the best, definitely the best coach out of the last four. Um, I don't know if UNLV won on Saturday, but they did. They finished 10-2, which Dan he knows how to win and he knows how to call an offense. He was crap at the other half of his job, but I mean, the dude knew how to coach on game day.
Mhm.
Uh, that might have been more a systemic issue there. I don't know if he was given everything he needed to win. Um, he also was lazy at recruiting and developing. Great on game day. That might have been a case of both. Napier, as you just touched on, was given pretty much everything he asked for. Not a lot of no's, a lot of yeses. Even when after year three, it looked like it was hire an OC or get the chopping block. He still didn't hire an OC. He got a year four, and it all crashed and burned eventually anyway. But he was not. Uh, there was not a black cloud over him until the very end. I think he was given everything he asked for. Still couldn't do it. I don't think he'll get another big time job. I know there was a report that North Texas was looking at him since Eric Morris left, but that might be the highest level he's going to go the rest of his career, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, I'd be pretty surprised if he did get another big time job. He would have to. It wouldn't be a big time job. He might be. I could see him coaching in the Power Four again, but it wouldn't be. Probably not in the SEC. Um, yeah, if he does go to North Texas and they consistently win 9, 10, 11 games like he did at Louisiana, then he'll probably go get another Power Four job, but uh, but not one as prestigious as Florida.
Nope. So another school might be stupid enough, but
Yeah.
not us.
Or
Won't
if
be
they
us again. Couldn't
do,
be
I
us.
I could, what, I could see a school, hiring him contingent upon him not calling plays.
Apparently, that's a deal breaker for him. So
Yeah.
he might just end up where he's at
Yeah.
for the rest of his coaching career, which is sad, but hubris of man.
Yeah.
Is
More
that what
power
they
to him, I
call it?
guess.
Right. All right, next question, Trey. And this is a doozy right here. Can only offensive-minded coaches win at UF? We've seen the biggest accomplishments at UF happen during the Spurrier Meyer years, and I know he has had some success in the '80s, but not a lot of success other than that. Do you think that offense is what makes UF go?
Um, I I think so. Perceptionally, yes. Like that offense, high flying offense is like the Florida football identity. But but no, I would say an offensive minded coach or a defensive minded coach could win at UF. It doesn't matter. I mean, you see it whether it doesn't matter which side of the ball you specialize in. Uh, it matters, how good of a recruiter you are, how good of a motivator you are, how well you can assemble a staff. So I've always thought I've always thought it was really overrated. Um, the discussion of like offensive minded versus defensive minded head coach. Um, I mean, you can make the same exact opposite argument just for elite coaches in general. It's like, oh well, Nick Saban's a defensive guy. Oh, Kirby Smart's a defensive guy. Oh, Dan Lanning's a defensive guy. Um, but but yeah, no, I don't think it matters.
So what you're saying is we should have hired Kirby Smart.
Yeah,
Why don't you go ahead and call him, Trey? Maybe he'll listen to you.
yeah.
All right, next question. What will it take for Jon Sumerall to win over the fan base? And here's the thing with Jon Sumerall. Unfortunately for him, he's already starting off in a hole a bit.
Mm.
There's a lot of negativity online about him coming here. Um, I'd say 90% of the fans wanted Kiffin, and the fans that pay really close attention see the similarities between him and a Napier or a Muschamp. He's more of a defensive-minded guy. Doesn't usually have great offenses. His average margin of victory this year hasn't been great, but what he's going to need to do is, as we said, hire coordinators, elite coordinators, and an offense that Florida fans can get behind. I think the fans will give a lot of goodwill if you can put points on the board, honestly. We're at that point. We're that desperate. I think if he goes 6-7 uh, in year one and averages 35 points per game, the fans will, be ready for year two. They'll put it behind them and see that there's signs there that, they're building something competent. And so that'd be my main thing, is that he's got to bring a style of play that is not the same as Napier's. He shows the haters that he's not Napier 2.0 or Will Muschamp, and that he can win here with adaptability.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think even sooner than that, I think he can build up a ton of goodwill in the offseason by being super aggressive in the portal, bringing in a high profile quarterback to compete with DJ Lagway, bringing in a high profile coordinator. I think all those things will build a lot of goodwill in the offseason. And after that, yeah, scoring points for sure. But I think even just not looking incompetent on game day, having the team look like they're prepared to play. The bar is so low. Don't have two guys wearing the same number running down the field on special teams play. Have the right number of guys on the field for a special teams play.
Don't need a mat to count to 11.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, really just in year one, the record's much less important. I know he in the past he has won right away. So I think maybe there might be some more expectation that he win right away, especially if he's aggressive in the portal. And honestly, I think that it might be given the way the portal is, I think it is a little bit more reasonable to expect, a little bit better results in year one. But historically speaking, year ones don't matter that much. But I think, if the team just looks well coached, even if they're not winning a bunch of games in year one, if they just look well coached, it would be the first thing. And secondarily, putting up points.
That would be helpful towards his cause. All right, last question here, Trey. What's more important in today's college game? Money for a roster or great coaching?
I think, as of right now, I think it is coaching because so for a couple of years, the first couple of years of the NIL transfer portal combo, I think it was about money, and guys were dropping bags left and right. You saw all these recruiting battles that would turn on a dime last second because some big time booster allegedly made a phone call on right before signing day. But now I think schools have adjusted, they've calibrated, the money's kind of evened out in relatively speaking. Of course, the more well-resourced programs are still going to be able to pay more for a player than a G5 school. But the money difference between like a Florida and a Georgia or a Florida and a Missouri is not that big a difference. They're going to be players are going to get paid roughly similarly, no matter where they go. So ultimately, it's going to come down to who has the better relationships, who has a better track record of development, and getting guys in the NFL.
Yeah, he's really gonna have to hit on some portal evals too, and fast. Um, I don't think he's gonna have his pick of the litter this first cycle. He'll be able to get some talent, but
Hmm.
it's very important that him and the new GM, the name is escaping me right now. I know he's the former
Caldwell?
Jaguars GM, Caldwell, yes,
Yeah.
and he got fired from the Jags. He's been with the Eagles since 2021, so hopefully he's learned under a great GM there.
Hmm.
And I do believe Caldwell will be running the day to day while Summerall is still coaching Tulane. Um, if Tulane beats North Texas Saturday, this coming Saturday, in the AAC title game, then it's very likely they're in the playoffs, and Jon Sumerall will
Yeah.
not be here for another 3 weeks. I believe the playoffs start December 19th or somewhere around there. So, I mean, you want your coach to be successful. It'd be great if he takes a school like Tulane to the playoffs. That's a great feather in the cap. But, you also, with signing day being December 3rd, the portal opens, I believe, January 2nd or 3rd. Uh, time is of the essence, of course. So it's kind of a slippery slope there almost.
Yeah, it's kind of a catch 22. It's like, yeah, you want your next coach to be successful because that's just more indication that he's a good coach, but at the same time you want your own coach on your own campus. Honestly, I think for year one at least, I think signing day is much less important for him. I don't think this high school signing class is going to be important at all, as far as Jon Sumerall's success at the University of Florida. I think the transfer portal class is going to be much more important. So, do you know when the first round of the playoffs are played?
I believe it's December 19th, but let me double check.
Okay, yeah. So as long as he is at Florida when the transfer portal opens, then I don't care. I'm going to be rooting for Tulane all the way for these next few weeks. But yeah, so as long as he's back, as long as he's at Florida by the time the transfer portal opens, I don't think it matters.
So to answer your question, the first round of the playoffs, the first game is Friday, December 19th, and there's a triple header Saturday, the 20th, and there's home field advantage in that round. So if they do make it, if Tulane does make it, it's very likely, probably um, completely reality that they'll be playing an away game. So that'll be a tough hill to climb there.
Mm.
But just being there is a great accomplishment. That means Tulane will be in the playoffs before the University of Florida, which
Yeah.
saying it out loud sucks, but at least the coach that led them there would be coming here.
Hmm.
Um, and it's definitely going to be interesting, Trey, how the next 2 to 3 months goes. I do agree with you that a transition class for a new coach is not that important. Usually there's a high bust rate. I will say, though, there's an interesting caveat about this particular class. Still not one decommitment since Napier got fired. Not one,
That's
which
crazy.
is very, very unusual. Even LSU they've kept most of their class together, but I believe they still had 2 or 3 guys decommit.
Mhm.
Um, and that's with getting Kiffin as a coach, a high profile guy.
Yeah.
But to have a class stick together for over a month without decommitment, without a head coach, without knowing who they're going to play for, I think shows that there's some good character and a
Mhm.
good uh, sense of unity coming in from those new guys. Obviously, NIL helps. I don't know what the details are on that, but those are guys that I think appreciate and love the school, and those are the kind of guys Summerall is going to look for. I actually believe I saw him in an interview say he'll go into a recruit's house or wherever they're at, and he'll ask them the first time they meet. He asks a new recruit. He'll ask them, "Are you soft?" And he said, "If the guy is soft, then he says you're not going to like me, and I'm not going to like you." So he kind of weeds them out right away. That's kind of an Urban
I love to
Meyer.
hear that. That is exactly
That's kind
what
of
I
an
want
Urban
in a
Meyer
head coach.
tactic.
That's exactly
Yes.
what I want in a head coach. That's the personality that I want. That's the thing that Billy Napier did not have. He did not have that it factor. He didn't have that grit to him. He he was such a nice guy. Everyone loved him. He had guy of good character, but he didn't have just that bit of grit to him that it seems like Jon Sumerall has, and that's one of the things I like about him. That's one of the things that excites me.
He's got a real old school way about him, which I can appreciate. As far as Napier, one last thing about him, because I never want to talk about him ever again. But we did hear that Napier had a more fiery side outside of the public persona he had, which he's always been a nice guy. Everyone knows that. But we did hear, he was a bit more fiery behind closed doors. But then Trevor Etienne transferred to Georgia, and he said in an interview that in his 2 years at Florida under Napier, he never heard Napier yell once
I
during
believe it.
practice, during meetings, during any kind of football related activity. And as a former coach myself, I mean, I obviously didn't coach at that level, but like I think I yelled at someone the very first day of preseason camp, and I don't understand how you make it to that level without you know making yourself heard. Um, and these guys, I think, unfortunately, I think they liked him and they liked playing for him, but they
Mhm.
took on the personality of him. And he was
Yeah.
soft and he was conservative and yada yada. I mean, obviously, it didn't work out, so everyone knows the story. But um, leading that into Summerall, him being that transparent up front, I think is awesome. It gives me a little bit of an Urban Meyer feel. Um,
Mhm.
he expected you to be tough, and that shows the kind of players he's going to get. He's going to get guys that are mean and play mean, and
Mhm.
that's what we need to be again. If we're not going to be the most talented, which I don't know, maybe he'll get great talent, but if he brings in a certain level of talent and makes them mean and tough, then that becomes a team you don't want to play. And as he wins more, then maybe he can get that upper echelon talent as the NIL flows in and the success flows in and whatnot. But for right now, he's kind of fighting a battle, a little bit of an uphill battle. But as I read more about him, I do genuinely like him. And I know we talked about this before. You were a fan of him. I was more a fan of some other people. But there is a reason why this guy was the pivot guy for a lot of SEC schools.
Mhm.
Um, Ole Miss, Auburn, both wanted him. LSU, I think, if they didn't get Kiffin, would have looked at him. I'm not totally sure about that, but I believe he was on their short list.
Mhm.
So I will be optimistic with you, Trey. I'm going to give the guy a chance. I think he's got great intangibles. That word's ruined for me from Napier, but yeah. Any other thoughts on Summerall?
Yeah, I think I mean there were some rumors floating around that Urban Meyer had a hand in scouting and selecting Jon Sumerall, which is exciting to hear. Um, Obviously, given Meyer's history with Florida, so um, yeah, I think the reason for a lot of Florida fans not being excited is because it's not Lane Kiffin, and a lot of people are comparing him to last time we hired a coach from the who coached in the Sun Belt in Louisiana didn't work out so well. I think that those kinds of
He
reasons
did
are.
coach in the AAC,
He did coach in
though.
the AAC, but he
Let's
did coach
be
in the
clear
Sun
on that.
Belt. He did coach in the Sun Belt before he coached in the AAC, though. Uh,
So technically not Sunbelt Summerall,
Technically
but
not Sunbelt Summerall,
yeah.
not anymore. But oh yeah, you better believe I could hear Sunbelt Summerall in my head before as soon as we heard he was hired. But um,
Mm.
but yeah, I think those reasons are pretty superficial. Uh, I think the similarities between him and Napier that people are uneasy about are fairly superficial reasons. I think uh, the things that we just talked about, the toughness that he really tries to find in his players, that grit he's got to him, that little bit of an it factor. I think those things, those intangibles, like you said, are what really make him stand out.
Yeah, he's a guy he's got characteristics of a successful coach. And we really are just in wait and see mode now. As we said, I think the first barometer, see how he's going to do, is the coordinators and the portal.
Mhm.
But he did say that he will not hire coordinators fast just to have them. He's going to take his time and make sure the right guy is hired.
And that's
So I am
good.
genuinely curious. I'm genuinely curious. Who he's going to pick.
Uh-huh.
That will set the tone right away if
Yeah,
he's serious about having a great staff around him.
absolutely. 'Cause, yeah, one of the things that would worry me is if he just brought over his coordinators from Tulane.
I don't think that's going to happen based off some of his comments. He genuinely believes on hiring the right guy based off what he said in an interview to Josh Pate.
Mm.
I've watched a lot of videos on him, if you can't tell. Done my homework, but the more I've learned about him, the more I'm impressed. And there are some concerns, but Lane had some concerns too. I mean, we've seen for a guy that's won no championships at the power four level in his career, he's got a lot of baggage following him. Great football mind. Going to be really fascinating how it works out. Not the coach here, not our concern. I'm rooting very hard for our guy now. I know you are too. But I think people are probably tired of hearing us talk now, Trey. So
Yeah.
we'll go ahead and wrap this up on our inaugural show today. We appreciate you all tuning in. We'll be back next week with more takes, more highlights, and maybe a few more bold predictions. But until then, stay loud, stay proud, and as always, go Gators.
Heck yeah,
Adios
baby.
from
Go
two
get it.
guys and one swamp. Thanks, everyone.